What are the four most dangerous trends that will impact agencies like yours in 2024? Hi, this is Brent Kelly, host of the Agent Leader podcast. And on today's podcast, I'm going to take you into a live webinar that I ran for agency leaders across the country, discussing these four agency trends, the impact they have on agencies like yours, and the one solution to help navigate these trends in 2024 and beyond. So with that, I'll take you right in to the live webinar. Enjoy. We are live. Welcome to be with you. I'm so excited to be able to share this content today with you all. If we have not officially met, maybe we haven't, we see some new names there on the box of attendees. My name is Brent Kelly. It's great to meet you. I'm the president of the Sitkins Group. And it is my honor on behalf of our entire team to have you here today on our session, of course, about the four dangerous trends. Now, I'm going to open up my slides here, and you should all have, if you weren't sent this, we'll make sure it's in the chat box. You should all have a copy of a one-page handout that goes along with our session today. So again, if you don't have that, Amy will put that in the chat box there. There you see it, should be in there. You can print that off or download it. If you don't have one or don't have time to print it off, a sheet of paper with a pen works really well as well. So whatever you want to do, we can do that. We're going to be talking today about the four most dangerous trends that are impacting your agency in 2024. I'm also going to share with you today the one solution to help truly avoid those four dangerous trends today. And here's the best news, at least I hope it's the best news for many of you that are busy professionals. We're going to get this all done in 30 minutes or less. All right. So I want to value your time, respect your time. So we're going to be doing this in 30 minutes or less. And I want to dive right in again. Hopefully you've got your pen and paper ready to take some notes today. Going to give you as much value as I possibly can in a short amount of time. And you may be thinking, well, these four dangerous trends, what are they? Well, we're going to talk about that. But where did this all come from? Now, for those of you that don't know me or organization, we work with independent insurance agencies all over the country. I know we've got people tuning in from all over the country. One of the reports that came out last year really illustrated some of the things we're going to be talking about today. The best practices study, which comes out every few years by the Big I and Reagan Consulting. And I can see a lot of you with your cameras open. By a show of hands, how many of you have heard of the best practice study report? Yes. All right. Got some hands in the air. Very cool. By the way, we're also going to be very interactive today. So maybe you're used to a webinar where you hop on and you sit there and you listen. I'm going to ask you to chat. We're going to have some conversation about some of these things today. So I appreciate for those of you who have your cameras on and be ready to chat there. But the best practice study came out this past year. And in the study, amongst a lot of great information on certain best practices and your demographics and where you fit in agency size, there was a narrative at the beginning of the report that talked about the critical issues that are facing independent insurance agencies. And above all else, above technology and structure and scale, although those are certainly important, the number one thing that jumped out in the study was people, right? The challenge of people. So I want to start off and be very interactive with you right away. I know we've got a lot of people hopping in here this afternoon and this morning for our West Coast friends. But here's what I want to ask you. What is your number one challenge at your agency with people today? Think about the top frustration or challenge that you have with your people today. What would it be? So don't hold back. What is it? We all have frustrations, right? We're dealing with people. I would say leadership would be really easy if it wasn't for the darn people. There's a huge blessing in that, but also there's challenges in people. So I want you to think about that. If you think about what is a challenge that I face or we face, regardless of your role with people, what is it? What do you got? I'll give you a little time to think about this. Don't overthink it though. First thing comes to your mind. What we got? I don't see anything yet. Don't hold back on me. I know we got a lot of people in here. Number one challenge that you have with people. All right, there we go. Thank you, Megan. First one that I see. I don't know if the communication is working well enough. All right, customer service. Everyone is tapped. Ooh, energy is low. Sarah, communication. Absolutely, right? The myth of communication tonight is that it actually occurred. Chad, managing different personalities and attitudes. Absolutely. And listen, I'm sure we'll get some more that come in. And what I want you to do, whether you wrote something in the chat box, or you're getting ready to, or you're thinking about this, when I go through these dangerous trends today, I want you to think about how this impacts your people or the challenges that you specifically have with your people. So let's dive into these 4 dangerous trends. And again, you can write these in as you move forward in your workbook. But let's start with dangerous trend number 1. And by the way, this is going to be a ladder of what we want to accomplish. And I'll share with you the exact trend. The trend is this. The dangerous trend is that there is a lack of a culture of accountability. There is a lack of a culture of accountability. Now, I'm going to express what I mean by this. But first of all, I'll give you a little perspective. I mentioned Regan Consulting. I was selected and our team was selected to be part of the Agency Leadership Institute the past couple of years. It's a very big deal. There's agencies that come in from all over the country, just like yours. It's hosted by Cincinnati Insurance. Regan Consulting runs it. Sitkins Group. I am part of this as well. And we share ideas, whether it's perpetuation and technology and growth strategies. And we had 2 sessions, one in June, one in September. And at the end of our September session, we brought up 8 of the things that we talked about. What do you think the number 1 thing was? I'll give you a hint. It's that. A lack of a culture of accountability. Well, I want to first of all define culture, because I don't want to just say words and go, okay, well, yeah. Culture, the way that we define culture at the Sitkins Group is this. So you may want to write this down. Culture, what is it? It's the language and behaviors that are normal in your agency. The language and behaviors. What people say, what people do, and those things that are normal. So here's a way to think about this. If your agency could talk holistically, what would it say? If your agency could move, go somewhere, where would it go? How would it behave? Right? That's culture. Simple as that. Well, the second part of this, which is critically important, is this word, the A word, accountability, right? Things that we want that we don't often get enough of. Right? Accountability is simply the state of being accountable. It's doing the things that we said we were going to do. Now, here's a couple questions. The first one, you might go, oh, come on. But think about this. What if 100% of the people in your agency did 100% of the stuff they said they were going to do? Okay, maybe that's not feasible. What if 80% of the people in your agency did 80% of the things that they said they were going to do? Would that be impactful? Hopefully the answer is yes. So here's my question. I want you to take a personal perspective on this. But on a scale from 1 to 10, when you think about culture of accountability, the people in your team doing the things they said they were going to do. 10 being you have the best, perfect culture of accountability. 1 is not so good. All right. How would you rate your agency's culture of accountability today, 1 through 10? Again, I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat box. I want you to be interactive with me. And again, there's no wrong answer here. It's wherever you are is wherever you are. So whatever your answer is, like it's a bit subjective. Type it in the chat box. Are you 5? Are you 7? Are you 2? Are you 9? What are you if you had to rate your culture of accountability in your agency as of today? What would you say? Give you 30 seconds to think about this. It shouldn't take long. Push a number in and hit enter. All right. Thank you, Manuel. Appreciate that. We got 8. That's awesome. That's really good. 6, 7 for Sarah, 6 for Alexandra. Right. Part of this, wherever your answers are, these are some pretty good numbers we're getting in. Wherever your answer is this: to have a culture of accountability, one of the first things we have to have is have a common language, common vision, alignment around that. And so I guess my second question, you don't have to type this in the chat box, is how is your alignment in your agency today? Do we have a common language? Do our producers or our service team members, or our sales leaders, are we all communicating and speaking the same message so that we all can be accountable around one central goal? Although we know there's individual parts of that as well. All right, so I want you to think about that. And certainly that is the first dangerous trend, is a lack of a culture of accountability. Let's get to dangerous trend number 2. Again, the goal here would be profitable accounts, but the dangerous trend, and write this in, is we have profitable accounts that subsidize our unprofitable accounts. We could say too many profitable accounts subsidizing our unprofitable accounts. Now, listen, this is a question to ask you. And again, this is going to be a bit subjective. And if you don't know, just type in the question or type in the question mark in the chat box. But if you had to guess right now in your agency, regardless of how many accounts you have, every agency is different, what percentage of the accounts that you have in your agency today would you guess or say that are unprofitable? Meaning that if that's all you had, you wouldn't be making much money. In fact, you'd probably be losing some money, right? What would you guess, just percentage-wise? 10, 50, 30, 60? What percent of accounts would you say in your agency truly, if you just peeled those back and that's all you had, would actually be unprofitable if you actually did the math on it? Jen said 30. Okay. Megan, 20 to 25. Sue, 30%. Manual, 30%. Interesting. Again, there's no wrong answer here. And we're going to talk through some of this. Here's what I want to stress today. And this is really important. It really all starts, and Chad said, I don't know, maybe 15%. It really all starts with your business model. And we have this phrase that we say all the time in our Sitkins trainings is that your current business model is perfectly designed for you to achieve the results you're currently achieving. And I'll say it again. I know it's here on the slide, but I certainly would recommend you write this down because I want you to think about this for a second. Your current business model is perfectly designed for you to achieve the results you're currently getting. If you're getting great results, you probably have a pretty good business model. Average results, maybe an average business model. Poor results, probably a poor business model. Maybe you're thinking this. Good news, Brent, I don't have a business model. Well, here's the bad news. You do have a business model. It's that. Right? The business model is you don't have one. So I want you to think strategically for a second, again, specifically about profitable accounts, subsidized and unprofitable accounts. And I want to share with you a principle that's been around for 125 plus years, the 80-20 rule. And I'm guessing I could just ask in the chat box, yes or no. Are you familiar with the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 principle? Maybe you know it as Pareto's principle because that's the person who founded it. Yes or no? Have you heard of the 80-20 rule? Some form of the 80-20 rule? Yes or no? Jen, yes. Learn it from you. There you go. Live it, love it. Derek, obviously, yeah, you've been through our programs before. Yes. And here's the second question I'll ask in this. And some of you are doing this. And I want you to think about this as I walk through this example, is that how many of you are truly leveraging or executing the power of the 80-20 rule, right? There's a difference of, hey, I know what it is. I know there's an imperfect balance, but we don't do a lot. So let me walk you through this. And again, you may have heard this before, but this is really, really important. And this is where agencies get in trouble and why it's a dangerous trend. If we look at the top 5%, of our accounts, right? Now we can give them any name we want for the sake of this. We're going to call them A accounts, pretty simple. We see, and by the way, we have run, this is not like we ran 3 accounts or 3 reports. Thousands. We have run thousands of reports on 80-20, right? So this is real. And that we see time and time again that approximately 5% of the clients produce 50% of your agency's revenue, right? 50%. It's a big chunk. So let me have you think about a couple things here. And you don't have to type this in the chat box unless you want to. But with 5% resulting in half of the agency's revenue, are there vulnerabilities in your agency today? Probably, right? Here's a second way of thinking about it. Are there opportunities that maybe we're not maximizing in our agency today? Because here's the deal. If you can write these accounts, you can write more of them, right? There's opportunities there, but so often we're focused in the wrong area. So if you look at A and B, right, and the B is 15%, we can do the math. 5 plus 15 is 20. We see that 20% of our clients produces 80% of our revenue. That's the 80-20 rule, the principle. Right? Of course, we can do the bottom here and say that the 80% of our clients produces only 20% of our revenue. So we start thinking about this as what's the trend? Well, profitable accounts subsidize unprofitable accounts. Well, how does that happen? Well, I want to share with you an important acronym because this is what it really means. And we could go way deeper in this, but for the sake of this session, I want to share with you the acronym TP. So I want you to write this down because it is an acronym. So I want you to make sure you remember it. TP stands for time, energy, problems, employees, and expenses. And I'll say that again. So TP, the time that we have, which by the way, time is our only diminishing asset. You don't get it back. The energy that we have every day, right, to go out and do things. The problems that we face as an agency, and we all have problems, right? The employees, our number one strategic asset is our employees. We'll talk a lot more about that next. But our employees, and then of course, the expenses, the cost of doing business. 70% of that is down here. And what we typically see time and time again is that there are too many agencies that have their profitable accounts that are subsidizing their unprofitable accounts. And it causes sales and service issues in terms of capacity, being able to get everything done. So this is such an important foundational thing. And I just want you to ask yourself as an agency leader, are we applying the power of rule to our agency? Or are we letting emergencies, interruptions, and reactive things get in the way of our best version possible, right? And there's such a depth to that, but I want to make sure I bring it to your awareness, all right? So dangerous trend 2 is profitable accounts. Dangerous trend 3, here's the positive, is green zone. And some of you may have heard this before, but here's what the dangerous trend is. We have too many producers stuck in the service trap. We have way too many of our producers, whether you have 2 producers or 200 of them, we have way too many producers that are stuck in the service trap, right? And it's a major problem. So let me give you an analogy of this. Imagine that this soccer player here, or it could be a basketball player, right? That their job, and this guy's job, is to score goals, or a basketball player's job is to score points, or let's use music. An entertainer's job is to get in front of the stage and deliver greatness. And our soccer player is on the bench. Our basketball player is on the bench. Our musical performer is behind the stage, behind the curtain, right? You can't score points if you're not in the game, right? I want you to write that down really clear somewhere, because this is a huge trend that's a danger. You can't score points if you're not in the game. And we see this with producers all the time. You can probably think of some in your agency right now, maybe. Don't call them out by name, but we start to think about this. There's a major problem that we're trying to grow our business and score points, write business, and we're stuck in the service trap. In fact, our philosophy behind this is that there's 2 zones. This is why the green zone is important. There's a green zone and there's a red zone. In fact, of all the things we've done at Sitkins, this has been probably one of the most sticky things we've ever talked about, because it's impactful and it's easy, right, to understand. Now, not always easy to apply, but it's super important. 80% of producers should be focused in green zone, results, pay-based activities. Only 20% should be activities-based, or I should say, like, stuck in the service trap and doing transactional things. I'll talk more about that in a minute. In fact, this is how it looks for a lot of agencies out there. Maybe your agency is similar to this, maybe it's better, but an average agency, and this is an important acronym as well, TSS. TSS stands for time spent selling. Time spent selling. It's one of the most overlooked and underutilized metrics. How much am I in the game? And for a lot of agencies and their producers, the majority of it is in the red. Whereas obviously the flip we want to go to is to get more producers in the green, right? This should be the goal of an agency. Can I get 80% of my producers 80% in the green zone? So let me explain what it looks like and what it means, because you might go, okay, red and green, what does this actually mean for me? Why is it such a dangerous trend? Well, let's simplify this. Red is activities-based. It's the service trap. It's where producers are caught doing the majority of service work, which, by the way, we have a team that does that, but they're stuck. Or, don't tell the producers this, they're hiding behind service sometimes. It happens, right? It happens. It's a reality. We're transaction focused. Everything's a transaction. We're too busy. We're so busy that we really can't get better and work on our skills, our processes, our attitude. And by the way, we spend most of our week reacting to stuff versus making things happen, right? If this is a red zone, this is where a lot of producers are. And it's a very dangerous, we can't grow, we can't grow, we can't grow. Well, this is the green zone. These are the 4 things that your producers, and if you're a producer, that you should be doing 80% of the week. 4 things: new business sales, continuing, which is a fancier way of saying renewing accounts. It's really continuing relationships, the relationship management aspect, and of course, pipeline development, particularly our future ideal client pipelines. Right? This is what should be done every single week. So let me just stop here, because part of this is, how do we get better at this? Well, I'll talk about some of those things in a minute. But let me just ask you again, to go back to the chat box. If you had to look at your production force right now, again, whether it's 2 or 10 or 20 or more, whatever it is, and you have to say, of my entire production force, what percentage of the week are they spending in this zone? What would you say? The green zone. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 50. Our production team right now spends X amount of percent of the week in the green zone. I know we have some pretty good producers on here, so I'll be curious of what your answers are. What would you say? And be honest, because it's not easy. Chad, I like your answer, Chad. Very fair. Not enough, right? Not enough. Anybody else have any comments they want to add on here of your green zone percentage? I'll just assume, if I don't get many answers on this, that maybe it could be better. All right. Maybe there's an opportunity there. 60 average. That's really good, by the way. All right. That's really good, by the way. Listen, none of us are perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But bottom line is, we think about this. And again, this is why this is such a dangerous trend. is that if we can get producers in our team in the green zone, we see this all the time. There's a 25% or more increase in productivity, which leads to what? Way better results, right? So it's something to be aware of in your agency. All right, last dangerous trend I want to dive into, and this one is so critical: a lack of a professional development plan for my number one asset, my people. A lack of a professional growth or development plan for my number one asset, my people. I said this earlier when I was talking about the study with Reagan, that it's all about the people, right? And I asked you to think about some of the people challenges that you have in your agency. I just got off a podcast interview with someone. We were just talking about people and people. But here's the question to think about. If someone came to you right now, maybe it's a new person you want to hire, and said, what would be a professional growth plan for someone like me in your agency today? What would you say? Do we have one? What does it look like? Right? And here's some things that it's important that I state. Here's what I believe, and this is on your worksheet. I don't know if it's on the top of your worksheet, but I want you to write it down wherever it is that the number one role of responsibility for any agency leader is one thing. The number one role is to grow and develop your people. Now, there are a lot of facets to that, but that's it. How do I grow and develop my number one asset, my people? That should be something an agency's thinking about every single week. What does that look like? What does that mean? And by the way, the numbers aren't good. This is the best practice study that I referenced, and these are the best practices, okay? I want to make sure I note that. But the best practices study showed that people development, the agencies invest only 0.24% of their revenue back into people development. And really, a lot of that is licensings and certifications, those kind of things. So 0.24%, less than 1/4%. And to put that in perspective for agencies, they invest 0.52% on miscellaneous expenses, which is what? Other stuff. Miscellaneous, right? So over twice is a miscellaneous than our number one asset, our people, right? So I want to share this cartoon with you. Maybe you've seen this before, but I love this. This is about how does your agency think? What are we trying to do and what are we trying to grow in our agency? And we've got a conversation here that the CEO is behind me. I will move, I promise. But the CFO, the financial person, is asking some question like this. Well, what if we invest in our people and they leave? By the way, can that happen? Sure, could. All right, what if we invest in our people and they leave? And here's the CEO. What a great reply here. CEO says, what if we don't and they stay? All right, what if we don't and they stay? And so that goes back to the question I asked you earlier. What is the power and what is your professional growth and development plan for your number one asset, your people? And often when I talk to agency leaders, they say, well, we kind of do this and we kind of do this, and I don't really know. And we got different stuff. And we do some level of training and development, but we know it could be better. In fact, maybe you're thinking these questions right now. Maybe. Well, how do we best train and develop our leader team? What would that look like? Where would we even start? Right? Or we're doing this. I mean, what would it look like? What specifically should we do? Right? And of course, where would we go next? What does it look like? Right? Part of this is questions that we ask ourselves as leaders, because this isn't easy. We get that. But I will tell you, one of the things that we believe in at Sitkins Group, and why we're talking about this today, is that we know that your job as a leader isn't easy. We know that you are not a training and development company, right? You're running an insurance agency and you've got a lot of requests and a lot of needs for your time. Here's what we want you to do as an agency leader. Here's our goal for you from just a emotional perspective. Ready? I can breathe. Right? We want you to find ways to exhale, to do the thing that many of you want to do, to grow and develop your people and put in strategies and processes that work and improve behaviors, but take some of the burden and pressure off you. And I shared with you at the beginning that I was going to share with you one solution for these 4 dangerous trends. Remember the 4 dangerous trends? A lack of a culture of accountability. We talked about that. Profitable accounts subsidizing unprofitable accounts. We talked about lack of producers or producers being stuck in the green zone, and a lack of a true training and development program for your most important asset, your people. So we develop a 90-day system, the best version possible, fast track. And I do want to share with you, I know some of you have read this book, so thank you. But Roger Sitkins and myself, we co-authored the book, Best Version Possible, a couple years ago. And I will read the subtitle because it's about where we're going to go here. The blueprint for achieving even greater profit and impact in your agency with less effort, right? With less effort. And we've turned this into a process for our agency members that work with us. But one of the things that agencies would ask us on our calls, and why we introduce this, is they go, where do we start? Like, what does it look like? I know there's a longer term membership and all that, but I just want to get started and get my people to do something that works. And so I want you just for a moment here to imagine a few things, because this is the goal and the end result. Imagine for a moment, imagine 90 days from now, right? Imagine 90 days from now that your team would have a common language and culture that you all rally around, right? That there's greater alignment. Imagine for a moment that your agency 90 days from now would know and be focused on the important areas versus all the emergencies and reactive stuff that happens all the time. Imagine if 90 days from now, your producers would be focused and understand the green zone principles. More importantly, have a marriage between sales and service of a high performance team, that we know that we have the same goal as a team, but understanding, appreciating, respecting, and trusting the different roles. And imagine for a moment that your people would go, you know what? My agency is poured into me. It provides you better recruiting, better development, better retention, right? That's why we've designed this. And the best version possible, Fast Track, is based around 3 core programs that we've integrated. And I love to say that, for years and years, we were thinking about how to integrate this. But part of this happened, we realized that we started doing this and it works. And we go, how do we replicate what works? And so there's 3 programs: our sales training program, our service program, and our leadership program are all integrated over a 90-day period with a specific roadmap for every person that's part of this on your team. And by the way, these are all live and they're all interactive. And I will tell you this, we've gotten really good at virtual training and development. We're really good at it. In fact, we found this to be a huge plus. Agencies that go, I don't think I could do virtual, go, this has been really cool, right? This has been really cool. So also to supplement this, and we want to help agencies as much as possible, exhale. We develop tools and resources that are on demand for your agency. So not only is there a strategic process and a plan for your sales team, your leadership team, and your service team, we have 24/7 access to our tools, our resources, our guides, all the things that are interactive. In fact, we have an online portal that includes an app on your phone, right? So let me share a couple of things, because people ask all the time, well, is there a good investment in training? A recent study, Accenture said this. It's a pretty powerful study. For every $1 invested in training, we see a $4.53% or 53-cent return. That's a 353% return on investment. It's powerful. A Gallup study, and this is something that has been really interesting. You think about millennials, it's the majority of the workforce. We know that. People say it's hard to find people, it's hard to keep people. 59% of millennials say that when applying for a job, learning and growth is not just sort of important, extremely important to them. PricewaterhouseCoopers study said 35% of millennials, same group, their first benefit choice is an excellent training and development program. That's their first. How are you going to help me grow and develop as an individual? And let's face it, there's a lot of competition in the marketplace for talent right now. I want to give you a competitive advantage. So I'm going to be very straightforward of what this looks like, and I'm going to give you the nuts and bolts. And then you as an agency leader could say, do these trends impact our agency? Do these solutions help us solve those? And is this worthy of a conversation, right? Is it worthy of a conversation to learn more? Because our mission is really simple. We want to educate, empower, and equip independent insurance agencies to be that best version possible. It's what brings us joy, and we want to help more agencies do that. So here's some things to think about. It's one flat fee, 100% virtual. There's no travel cost. It includes all the workbooks and tools that I mentioned. You have access to an online portal. And here's the key part. Every member, not one or two or part, every member in sales, service, and leadership grows and develops. So what's the cost? What's the investment? Really straightforward. We've made this as simple as we possibly can. One fee for 90 days based on agency size. Obviously, the larger the agency, the more people we onboard and work with in our systems. But this is a straightforward fee. There's no additional cost. There's no extras. And here's the real important part. It's 100% guaranteed. If any agency goes through our programs and go, I don't know about that, we'll get your money back. We're not going to fight you on it. We want you to win. Our best marketing, our best results are when you get results. That's all we care about. How do we help agencies get results to drive their agency forward, to increase profits and increase valuation in the marketplace? And I have one final thing. You can see it on the chat box that Amy put in the link for the fast track. Just click the link. It'll take you into our page, the landing page. It'll provide more information. You can read about what it means. You can sign up. You can schedule a call or an inquiry to learn more about it. The fast track program starts in January. We are on October 26th as I record this. You may go, oh, I got plenty of time. Maybe, right? And I'm not here to pressure you. If this is not a fit for you and you go, I don't relate to any of this, then don't worry about it. Forget it. But if you sense there's something there that, you know what, this is something we need to look into, I'm going to challenge you not to wait. Schedule a call with our team. Look into the information, right? It only makes sense to do these things because here's the deal. There is a powerful law called the law of intent. And actually, the law of diminishing intent. I get that right. Law of diminishing intent. We all have intent. And the law of diminishing intent says this, and I've been guilty of this. The longer you wait to do something you know you should do, the less likely it is that you'll ever actually do it. And I don't want you to be sitting here in November and December going, maybe next time, maybe next quarter, right? Get your agency kicked off in 2024 truly on the fast track, a catalyst for your agency to grow, develop, and become that best version possible. No more producers underperforming. No more service teams complaining you're underperforming. Let's get on the right track and get this done. Again, the links are on there. You'll also get an email from our team right away to learn more about it. But bottom line is this: there are dangerous trends. There are 4 dangerous trends that we see time and time again. We want to prevent those dangerous trends and get your agency on the right track. So thank you so much for attending this. We were right about 30 minutes, and we started about a minute late, so we hit it really close. So thank you all on this. We appreciate it. We're here to help in any way that we can. We hope to see you. We hope to see you. We want to see you in January on the fast track. We're here to answer any questions. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, it's me again, but this time it's not me on the webinar. It's just me on the podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the 4 dangerous trends that are impacting your agency in 2024. As I mentioned on the podcast, the BVP Fast Track is the one solution for your agency to move forward. Go to sitkins.com/fast track to learn more about that. Certainly, you can also set up a call with one of our coaches to better understand how the fast track will directly apply to your agency. I can't wait to hear from you as we kick off our program in January, hear the results you're experiencing in the spring and beyond. And with that, I wish you all the best in your success. Thanks for listening.